Tokugawa Shigeshige is the personal favourite character of mine when it comes to Gintama as a series, and is also the gold standard for leadership in the series. Oh, and also SHOGUN KAYO! If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I cannot explain to you how much such a small action can do for this channel. Also, if you want to support this channel further, consider pledging to my Patreon. Anyway, on with the video. Shigeshige is the Shogun, not a Shogun but the Shogun, a man who answers to no one and does all in his power to ensure a brighter and safer future for the people he leads. As in Gintama, the gold standard of leadership is a leader who values those that support them and strives to be worthy of the respect that people thrust upon them. As Shigeshige is a true leader, much like Kondo, Tatsuma, Katsura and his own replacement Nobunobu. As a true leader isn't one who demands respect from those they lead, but instead is one who will earn said trust and pays it back in tow with their own respect and trust for their men. Shigeshige is first introduced and is presented for most of the series as a comedic character, a silent pervy guy who shows up randomly with the standard setup being that the very select few characters, usually the Oyorozu, knowing his identity as the Shogun, and no one else knowing, which always makes for a tense but hilarious scene. As well, he's the Shogun and could have them all executed for the mad shit they pull on him if he so chose. Not that Shigeshige would ever do such a thing, though that obviously isn't a risk Gintoki ever wants to make. And although yes, these are just comedy episodes, they actually set the groundwork for Shigeshige's overall character arc. In most of these instances, we see Shigeshige be ignorant of things, be ignorant of the way the common folk live. He thinks that stripping down to his underwear is normal, as that is what he is told. He thinks having shit placed on his head is normal, as that is what he has experienced. He is ignorant of the world, as he is but a puppet leader, not one with any power. However, throughout the series, as we see him over and over, he learns about the world, about his country and the people he rules. Best shown by how he says he will reform the system once experiencing the Oyorozu's impeccable barber skills. As he isn't a passive leader, he is one who wants to help out, and yes, he is ignorant and so can't do what he really wants to help the people, but the point is that he tries to understand them and to help them. He wants to use his powers as Shogun to help the people, even though he is a puppet to the Tensho, and so to do so he rebels against the Tensho, the people that gave him power as a puppet Shogun, and even begins to plan a revolt, as he won't sit by as his people suffer. Unlike Nobunobu, who was content with being a puppet, as long as he gained the power and benefits of being Shogun, Shigeshige wanted more than just being a puppet. But it wasn't that he desired power, no, he desired the ability to exert his power to help those he rules. Which, as I keep saying, is why he went down to visit the common folk, as to help them he had to first understand them. Another core aspect of Shigeshige's character is the trust and care he has for his friends, as even if they are technically his subordinates and his vassals, Shigeshige's friends are his friends. And I think this is best illustrated by his relationship with his Oniwabanshu. As a child, Shigeshige was for a time raised and trained by the Ika clan, a clan of shinobi with the children he would one day call his Oniwabanshu. The most notable of these children were of course Hattori Zenzo and Saratobi Ayame, people that even after assuming the role of Shogun he still considered dear friends, putting his own life at risk to protect them. Due to his position as a future Shogun, as a child, Shigeshige had many body doubles, all children with many dying to fulfill their missions. When Shigeshige became aware of this, he was of course upset. After all, these children dying for him weren't just subordinates, they were his friends. However, Shigeshige was, back then, and remained so until his death, a man of action, who wouldn't sit idly by. And so when one of his doubles, Kagemaru, was captured and his uncle Sada refused to do anything about it, Shigeshige took action. He left the palace and asked the Oniwabanshu, his friends, to aid him, and they saved Kagemaru. They took action. As Shigeshige can't leave a friend to die, even to the point that he was injured while protecting Kagemaru, leaving him with a scar which from then on acted as a sign of friendship, as it was by that scar that the Oniwabanshu, Shigeshige's friends, were able to always recognise him. And as true friends, as people who had risked their lives for one another, Kagemaru died for Shigeshige. He died so that his friend, the one who saved him back then, could live on. Shigeshige truly valued those young shinobi as his dear friends. He learned how to throw kunai from them and learned what it meant to risk your life. A lesson he as a ruler needed to understand, as if not he may have just come to see losses and deaths on the battlefield as just numbers on a report. But due to his personal experiences with them, he learned to value every last life that served him and to never waste their efforts and their sacrifices. And so when Zenzo was about to fall, who was there to lend a shoulder? It was Shigeshige. as Zenzo and the rest of the Onuwabanchu have supported him for so long that it was time for him to do the same and support his friend's body, as they are friends and friends give and take and they do all they can to support each other. The most symbolic part of this friendship though is of course the kunai. Zenzo and the other ninja taught Shigeshige how to throw a kunai properly. This is first off a direct example of Shigeshige learning the skills and knowledge of those he leads, mirroring how he learned what getting a haircut was, and like how he learned to be a snowboard. But secondly, it shows he puts himself on equal footing with his friends, but not only allowing them to teach him new things, but also to be better at something than him. And so when he can, he fights, and he uses his kunai to save those he calls friends. Even correcting Zenzo on how to throw a kunai, as they are equals who teach each other things. Zenzo taught Shigeshige how to throw it, and Shigeshige reminded Zenzo how to do so properly. It's give and take on equal ground as friends of equal status. And even if Shigeshige is a shogun, a man leading a nation, he is still just a guy. A pervy guy who gets a nosebleed over a woman, who will go to a barbershop to get a haircut and will spend his free time at hostess clubs or skiing down snowy slopes. As he isn't disconnected from the people, he tries his best to be like them so that he can once again understand them. And that's one of the other reasons he is such a good leader, because despite his prestigious position and his upbringing in a castle, he still feels like a nice, normal guy. He doesn't stand out among the rest of Gintama's cast, as he is just like the rest of the cast, a funny, flawed person just trying to live their life and enjoy every moment of it they can. However, despite that, Shigeshige does die. The Shogun assassination arc is always in contention for my favourite Gintama arc, and although that is mostly due to the Gintoki vs Takatsuki fight, my all-time favourite fight in fiction, and all the flashbacks surrounding said fight, a close second is the closing scene of the arc, the death of Tokugawa Shigeshige. Shigeshige's greatest strength as a leader and as a person was the trust he put in his friends and those he ruled over. And so when he lost his title of shogun, of course he greets his friends not with guards by his side, but unguarded as an equal. As Shigeshige has always been an equal to his friends, and so when his friends flock to his side, he accepts them with open arms as he trusts them. Shigeshige's greatest weakness as a leader and as a person though, was also the trust he put in his friends and those he ruled over. As the person to kill him, to stick him with a poison needle, was none other than his childhood friend. Not an enemy assassin or a person with a grudge. It was his own friend. As Shigeshige's trust, his blinding optimism, was just too bright for the time. Sunrise had yet to arrive, and his ideals were too light for the dark night. And so Shigeshige's optimism in those dark times were too bright, and so were his undoing, and he fell to the one he called his friend. However, it can never be night forever, and the sunrise will always come again. And in a cruel twist of fate, it was in a way Shigeshige's death that brought the light back, that welcomed in a new era, an era where a shogun isn't needed, where people can be equal under the light of the sun in the land of the rising sun. His ideal of trust and of there being no need for a shogun anymore didn't die with him. His death set in motion a chain of events leading to the prosperous and bright world we see at the end of the series. One of hope, trust, and one with no more shogun. A world instead ruled, at least for a time, by Donald Trump, as Katsura honoured the promise he made to Shigeshige, and even though one of them was dead, the other would lead the new world and lead it into the light to a new day. As Shigeshige is much like the core theme of the series, that there cannot be light without the dark. He was the light in the darkness, the first ray of sunlight that welcomed in the dawn, the new era, but to do so he had to die. With his legacy being taken up by those still left, by Katsura his enemy, Nobunobu his replacement, and most importantly by his friends. As Shigeshige is a leader defined by trust and friendship, so of course even with his death, he still embodies his ideals, passing them on to the new era, where they will shape the way Edo becomes, and will become the feelings that define a new era, one where there is no need for a shogun. Comment of the week comes from Jaggers, as I must admit, Oshino Meme is the best meme in all of Monogatari. If you are interested in my literary endeavours, why not check out my books Gang Fluid Justice and People of Fate Volume 1, available at Amazon.com. And if you want to help to support this channel, consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video, like Hikari Desu. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.